It's time for Supply Chain Now, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Heard around the world, Supply Chain Now spotlights the best in all things supply chain, the people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton here with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's show. Hey, on this episode, we're continuing this mini series here end of year where we're kind of flipping the table a bit, and we're gaining insights and POV from our hosts. Today, we're going to be working really hard to raise your supply chain IQ as we're meeting with the industry dynamo that is Karin Bursa. So stay tuned. Hey, quick programming note before we get started here today. If you enjoy this conversation, be sure to find us and subscribe for free wherever you get your podcast from. So no further ado, let's bring in today's featured guest. I'm really excited to be speaking with Karin Bursa, the supply chain pro to know for 2020, as recognized by Supply and Demand Chain Executive. She is founder of Eureka and is host of our TEKTOK Digital Supply Chain podcast. Karin, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Scott. Always a pleasure to be with you here.
You as well. It feels like 6 years ago since you and I last sat down for a one-on-one interview, but it's really been just a few months. But it's been such a fast-moving time period, right? We're finishing with a flurry here end of year, right?
Absolutely. 2020, I mean, it's had plenty of low spots for sure, but it does seem like the momentum here the last couple of months is really flowing. And fortunately, it looks like 2021 is going to be a lot more optimistic. So I'm looking forward to that calendar change.
We are too. And so also I'm looking forward to this conversation here where we're able to pick your brain a little bit more on that side of the mic, as it were. We've had some fascinating conversations with all of our hosts, and this is going to continue that trend for sure. So let's make sure for the three folks in our audience that don't know Karin Bursa, tell us about yourself.
So, Karin Bursa, as you introduced me, I've had the absolute privilege to work in supply chain and manufacturing and technology for more than 2 decades, and I love it. I love everything about it, the challenges as well as the triumphs. It's just fascinating to understand how products are planned, brought to market, manufactured, distributed, and delivered right to your doorstep. So I guess you could say I'm a supply chain transformation junkie. So this is what I do. This is what I enjoy. And one of the good things about 2020 is supply chain has taken center stage. So people understand what we do each and every day, what our community does, and where they're spending their time and effort as well.
Agreed. Certainly a big silver lining there to a very challenging year, uniquely challenging year. You also founded, let's talk more about Eureka. Tell us, how are you helping organizations with that firm?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked, Scott. So Eureka was founded specifically to help high growth business to business technology companies. So I'm taking my more than 2 decades of technology and business strategy experience and applying it to some of these growth initiatives, whether it's market segmentation or strategic marketing initiatives, or even go-to-market strategies. So working with a number of companies in the area of helping them transform their business and prepare for new growth in certainly 2021 and beyond. So if I can be of help to any of the folks out in our community, would love to connect with you and see if I can't contribute to the efforts that you're working on.
Well, I'm pretty confident that folks are making a mistake by not giving you a call. We've enjoyed your series here with us and that spillover effect. I mean, we've tapped into all of your expertise, and it's made us better and stronger and enabled us to move faster and serve the market better. And folks will be best served by reaching out. And I also appreciate your approach. You're always willing to compare notes, and it's amazing the powerful advice you can get just with that casual conversation with folks. That's one of my key takeaways here in 2020. But let's talk about some of your key takeaways in 2020. So what are, when you think of a short list of those key takeaways, especially with a business bend or personally, what comes to mind from 2020?
Yeah, so the first thing we just talked about, and that is supply chain has taken center stage. And what I love about the fact that it has center stage is it's not just about cutting cost. Supply chain is now seen to deliver the value that we have all worked so hard to build the credentials around just for decades and decades. So whether you're looking at segmenting your markets, going to market differently, if you've rationalized your product portfolio, if you're looking to streamline your distribution, or the way you work with your sourcing partners, these are all areas that are supply chain. And so right from procurement through demand forecasting, through inventory policies, production plans, sourcing, these are opportunities for transformation. And so supply chain is center stage would be my number one. Number two is the word transformation. Actually, Scott, the reality of transformation. So McKinsey Global did a survey about 6 or 7 months into COVID-19. And so this was a global survey, and they found a very extraordinary statistic. And I know you know this, Scott, but to share it with our community as a reminder, in just a matter of months, so in 6 to 7 months, companies have achieved digital transformation in customer engagement and in supply chain that is equivalent to almost 4 years of transformation initiatives. Wow. So in just a few months, they've actually leapt forward by almost 4 years. I think that's going to be good news for our future.
Agreed. Along those lines, Karin, earlier this week on The Buzz, we cherry picked a quote from a recent Wall Street Journal logistics report article, and they were citing an Avery Dennison leader, and I can't remember his name, but he basically, to paraphrase, he said, the pandemic is sped up and has us implementing in 2020 what we were thinking about doing in 2025. And that stopped me in my tracks a bit, because that's very accurate.
Absolutely. I think that's spot on. And that reinforces this research that McKinsey has conducted as well. I think that this type of global disruption has created a new necessity for transformation. And a lot of that has come through technology innovation or embracing capabilities that technology brings to the business. So, and I think we're just starting, to tell you the truth, because I think we're going to see more momentum as businesses push forward to a new normal in 2021.
Well put. So those are the first two, man, and those are two biggies. What's the third?
Well, the third would be just that, the technology, the technology component of that that as supply chain professionals, we need to look for new opportunities to automate. We need to look to allow the systems to do things quickly and iteratively so that we can make better decisions every single day. And that we're looking at market signals and making small incremental changes versus changes that have historically happened only on a monthly or quarterly basis for most businesses. So a lot more sensing demand changes, sensing supply changes, and responding faster to meet the market needs.
Yep. One of my favorite parts of this journey in working with you and Greg White and several others on across the series and programs is y'all were supply chain tech before supply chain tech became cool, right? I think Greg put it the other day in a podcast. He said, supply chain tech is all of a sudden overnight success after 4 decades of hard work. And that is such a great point, because everyone these days seems like they can't get enough of applying the latest and greatest tech or investing in it. There's deal after deal after deal being made, but hey, we've been, not me, but we've been here for a while, not more than 2 decades, which is our cardinal rule here at Supply Chain Now.
I know. I'm learning.
So as an executive leader in this industry that all of a sudden folks can't get enough of, I mean, how do you perceive that, and how fulfilling is that?
Oh, so it's a lot of fun. It is rewarding to see literally decades of work be leveraged in new and interesting ways. So I think as technology embraces new capabilities like artificial intelligence and machine learning and rapid response and rapid changes in the marketplace versus just a cadence-based plan for the business, I think it's very exciting to see. Winston Churchill has the great quote when he was working on forming the United Nations after World War II, where he said famously, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." Well, I think 2020 has had plenty of crises for us to choose from.
Right.
It's been hard on business, hard on governments, hard on individuals, hard on families. And I think that we need to look at those lessons and see where we can reap new and interesting ways of doing business and engaging in the future.
Well said. And the famous philosopher, one Kevin Bell, an attorney with AG&G here, he said something back in March or April that we keep going back to your point, is you can find opportunities without being opportunistic in this environment. And there's lots and lots of companies that have dialed that in and have had smashingly great years despite the challenging environment. So love that sentiment. All right, so let's switch gears a bit and let's talk about that proverbial Eureka moment. We all have a bunch of them. Years like 2020 they tend to come in maybe bunches. But what's one Eureka moment here recently or a few months back that you really or is important to you?
Yeah, I've been really focused on this theme of mindset. I know that sounds crazy, and you probably are looking for something much more tangible. But I think as we approach problem solving, as we approach looking at new opportunities, we have to have a positive mindset that our teams can come together and solve problems in a new and interesting way, that we can serve our customers efficiently and effectively, and that we can embrace and harness change versus just simply respond to change. So I think that it's an opportunity for us to all kind of take a look in the mirror and figure out if our glass is half empty or half full, or if it's the proverbial way to quench a thirst. I know it can be challenging. I know that for many of us, we've had personal challenges and family challenges with health and family members, employment, et cetera. But remember, we are supply chain professionals, and supply chain is the place to be. And supply chain is taking center stage. And as supply chain professionals, we are problem solvers. So we have to be an optimistic group to think about how we do things in new and interesting ways. So I'm kind of focused on that mindset and how do we use a positive mindset going forward to help propel our businesses.
Love that. No longer does supply chain open up for James Brown. We are James Brown, right? Yes. Insert your favorite position there, Rolling Stones, whatever. All right, love that. So breaking out a crystal ball, which is probably broken for everybody here lately, but 2021, what's one thing for us to maybe not as much a forecast as something or prediction as something to keep your eye on?
Yeah, so I expect that that global business is going to spring forward. I'll place a caveat around that. They'll spring forward with caution. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand in the marketplace. I think people want to get out and do things and socialize and kind of re-engage, if you will, with family and friends and their business colleagues as well. But I think that we will look at still harnessing many of the tools that we've used for the last several months. So Scott, let me use Supply Chain Now as an example there. So when we think of digital media like Supply Chain Now, so Supply Chain Now has become a community where we can get together and connect with others that are in our field around the globe, right? You've got a regular community that's engaged in countries around the world on a regular basis. And that's exciting. They're sharing ideas, inspiring others, and looking to solve problems in again, new and interesting ways. So I think digital is here to stay. So whether it's digital collaboration in communities like Supply Chain Now, or it's digital working of your supply chain with your planning practices, with the way you collaborate with customers and suppliers, that these things need to continue to evolve and improve, and are going to be ways that we can get out of spreadsheet hell and into making better decisions faster each and every day for our business.
I love that. And speaking of those relationships and even digital relationships, it's been one of my key takeaways from 2020 has been, and don't laugh, but the power of growing in a very meaningful way relationships via digital means. It's been amazing. We've as an example, we've done business and great business and producing great shows with folks that the relationship started on a tweet response. It's so crazy to think about how far the digital world has come when you can really have human interactions that mean something and are impactful, that start from the simplest of ways.
I agree. And I agree that, that people with a willingness to help others and share and connect. Don't get me wrong, I miss 3D interaction with folks, but I think it's going to be quite some time before people are comfortable gathering in groups of 200 or 500 or 2,000 in the traditional conference format. So I think Supply Chain Now is really serving a vital need in the industry, and that is as a mechanism and a platform to really up your skills and to level up and think differently and share ideas and test new ideas and get feedback. And I think that that's going to be important, not just in 2021, but 2021 and beyond.
Completely agree. And hey, at least we hope to be back in the studio with a handful of folks, guests and hosts, long before we can take those big strides towards even a couple hundred folks at an event. So well said there. All right. So one thing one of the projects, speaking of which, that I've really been excited about and have enjoyed participating on some level is the TEKTOK Digital Supply Chain Podcast, and interviewing you and getting your origin story. Getting the origin story of Laura Cesari, of course, was a great highlight. Spotlighting supply chain people that are doing great things in the community, like Mandy with
the Empty Stocking Fund. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
It's been great content, and I know we're just scratching the surface. So tell us, what do we have to look forward to in 2021?
Yeah, and I'm so excited about it. And it has been a blast just partnering with you and the Supply Chain Now team around this new podcast series. So again, for our listeners, it's called TEKTOK, Digital Supply Chain Podcast, and it's with Supply Chain Now. So check it out. And if you haven't, please take a listen and subscribe. But in early 2021, we're going to cover a number of interesting topics. We've got a couple of chief supply chain officers who are going to share really what they've done in the area of transformation during this COVID world. But also those that are looking at new tactics around resiliency and how they respond quicker to changes in the market. So you'll hear things about artificial intelligence and machine learning and several very practical examples of automation. So helping people be more productive each and every day, evaluating more supply chain scenarios so that we can pick the best of the best. And I think one thing that's important in all of that is the just the speed of business is changing dramatically. So when we think of the Internet of Things, right, these sensors are able to signal the need, whether that need is replenishment, replacement, repair, or available capacity, in a very real-time manner. And that helps us to serve the customer or the community or individuals in a very effective and timely way that is reaping significant rewards. So I think we're going to hear a lot of those elements come together again around these themes of transformation. And the effective use of technology is delivering a competitive advantage. I expect to see that continue to accelerate. So we'll be focusing on a lot of those topics as we kick off 2021.
Such a fascinating time to be in supply chain or global business for that matter. I think when I think of IoT and some of the Industry 4.0 technology that's already been applied for years, mind you, right? I think about my time in data analytics with the Air Force way back when. And, and I bet there's lots of parallels out in the industry, where you'd be charged, hear from the boss, hey, Luton, go run this report. You got 10 days to do it. And you go back and do all the crunching and get the report so they can make a decision, right, on something.
Absolutely.
All that happens. Yep. If it's not completely automated, including the decision, it happens right there in the need these days. And as you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, predictively, more and more before you even get to the point where you realize you need this data. It is fascinating that the ever increasing rate of change is just it's an incredible time to live in it.
It is. It's fascinating, and again, supply chain is a great place to be, and a great place to apply some of this innovative technology, really to help do exactly what you said, to do deep analysis quickly, and to evaluate and interrogate multiple options for the business, multiple scenarios. So it's super interesting, and I think we'll continue to see more and more examples that are going to inspire others to get started and transform their businesses as well.
I'm with you. All right, so great conversation. Just like I knew, I've learned. I've gotten my proverbial 18 pages of notes. So Karin, really excited about what's coming up in 2021 with TEKTOK Digital Supply Chain Podcast. So much good stuff. How can folks connect with you though?
Yeah, so Scott, I think the best way to connect is through LinkedIn, and would encourage everyone in our community to reach out to me there. It is Karin, it's spelled Karin. The last name is Bursa, that's B as in boy, Ursa. And of course, you can go to Supply Chain Now as well and look up TEKTOK, and you can connect with me there or subscribe to the TEKTOK podcast as well. Would love to hear your feedback, your input, and any great stories you have to share. And we look forward to growing together with you in the future.
Absolutely. And more live streams to come. We're going to, each of our series and our hosts there are going to be connecting with the audience on a much more regular basis in 2021 to pose questions or share their insights, or maybe on past episodes or upcoming episodes. So stay tuned for that as well. But Karin, always a pleasure. Love what you do. Love what you've brought to the table. I love our ability to tap into all of your expertise and experiences and share that, to your earlier point, with our global community, especially when they need it, perhaps never more before than right this instant. So thanks so much for all that you do, Karin Bursa. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and looking forward to a smashingly successful 2021.
I'm right there with you, Scott. And thanks for all you and the Supply Chain Now team are doing, and the way you do it. So not just what you do, but the way you do it. And listen, if you guys have not connected to a live stream, you need to. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know how else to say it, but the thoughts and ideas, and even a little of the joking that goes back and forth between some of our regulars in the community is just worth a good hour of your time. So please pipe in, give it a try, and let us know what you're thinking. So thanks again, Scott. Happy holidays, everyone.
Hey, thanks so much. And a quick programming note on that last item that Karin just shared. The easiest thing is every Monday and Thursday at 12 noon Eastern time, you'll find us live across 5 social platforms: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Not sure what Twitch is, but you find us there 12 noon on Mondays and Thursdays. Join us and look for more live stream programming. To our audience and community, hopefully you've enjoyed this conversation with Karin Bursa as much as I have. Make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn. You'll find that information on the show notes. Hey, you can learn a lot more about us and find similar conversations at supplychainnow.com. Find us, of course, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. Karin, we got a deal. Subscribe for free, right? Money back guarantee on that too.
Absolutely. Yes.
And to our listeners, hey, Scott Luton signing off for the whole Supply Chain Now team. Do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And on that note, we'll see you next time here on Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.